Hello and welcome back to the Blush Studio. I am so excited to share with you 7 of my game-changing wax seal tips today. These are tips that I have gained from using wax seals for years. The first one is one I get asked all the time, how to change your glue gun wax seal colors. So let's say you pull out your gun and you're looking at the color and you're like, this is not the color that I want. Grab some actual glue sticks and you're going to feed this through your glue gun to switch your colors out. One of the big reasons to do this is that the glue is a lot cheaper than the wax. They're about the same size, but the glue is actually a little bit wider, so that will help to clear it out faster. I found that it requires about 2 sticks. It'll look like this for at least the first full stick. But then after 2 sticks of the glue, you'll start to get something like this. So I've switched and I'm getting a lot of glue, but then you'll see my wax color is starting to come out. This is my Silver Sage wax, which is a beautiful dusty blue-green shade. It's new to my collection and I love it so much already. This is the first stamp where like the color is starting to show through, and I don't recommend using this for your final product. I found that really the first 2 stamps, once the color starts to show through, are really just throwaway stamps, but that's a lot less than what you'd be throwing away if you were using, a fresh stick of wax rather than using this glue gun method. So if you can see, you can look carefully and see kind of the veins within the stamp itself, and that's not necessarily what you wanted. The next tip is for stamping multiple seals quickly. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I encourage using ice for working with your wax seals. This is because it chills the stamp, the metal part of the stamp, so that it cools the wax faster and keeps the process moving quickly. I like to keep it next to my workstation, kind of like this. For tip 3, we're going to talk about how to keep your stamp straight. Now, some stamps, if you look at them, they have a very obvious top or bottom. Not always, but I usually like to find the section that I want to be the top, and I mark it just a little bit with the pencil. Then I go down to the bottom and I make a much larger mark on this side. See how I can kind of extend that pencil line? The great thing about using pencil is that if you make a mistake, you can erase it, but also it won't show up on your wax, on your actual stamp. But this way, if you have this little mark as your guide, that is the bottom of your seal, you can line it up with the bottom of the envelope or your invitation, and all you have to do is find that mark right there and stamp it down. Next, we're going to talk about how to avoid bubbles in your wax. Now, this happens occasionally when people first start using wax seals, and this is why we put our glue gun setting to the low setting, because wax that is too hot will bubble. Now, the vellum was super obvious. This is a matte color, but as you see, I'll push the stamp in there and you'll see those bubbles are starting to form. That means my wax is too hot, which is really unfortunate. It kind of ruins the overall effect. And see, I'll take this stamp off. This is my Blushed Bride stamp, and it really just looks kind of tacky, not very professional. Now let's talk about cleaning our spoon, or really any of our supplies. Now what I like to do is when I am making a stamp, especially if I just want to have one, I'll place my spoon immediately back onto the heat, and then I will just wait a second, and then I'll wipe it with a tissue or a paper towel. Of course, you want to be very careful when you're doing this because the spoon is still hot, but this is really the easiest way to clean off your spoon in order to get it nice and shiny again. Now, this usually takes me 2 rounds on the heat, just because I do like mine to be squeaky clean. I don't want the colors to mix with my next stamp. If you do this pretty quickly, and I've only used this with Artesire wax, so I really have found that it cleans off really nicely. I do have to clean off the soot from the back though. Now let's say you have a really tricky spot on your spoon. I recommend making a paste with baking soda and some dish soap and then rubbing that into your stamp, just letting it kind of sit there for a while. To continue to exfoliate, I like to take some aluminum foil, just tear off a piece and make a little ball, and then you're going to scrub the wax that has been stuck on. This is great for something that's been kind of really baked on there. You're just going to massage that area, and then I like to soak it in hot water for 15 minutes and then repeat the process. Now, to make sure that you're ordering enough wax every single time, Artesire actually has this super handy tool. If you go to their wax, you can pick any single one. This is their Champagne Sealing Wax, which is just a beautiful metallic blushy tone. And if you scroll down, they actually have a wax seal calculator. And you can pick the size of your stamp, which is super important. And then if you needed 100 stamps, they recommend having 17 sticks. Now they come in packs of 5, so I would recommend getting 4 packs, which would be 20 sticks. That will give you plenty of wax to make the number of stamps that you need, plus have a couple that you can throw away if needed. Now this is the newest to me, just how to stamp on tricky materials. So I did a lot of stamping on ribbon over Christmas, and I finally figured out a way to make this easier. It's really tricky when you have to hold it tight. See how I'm just holding that super tight? That can be exhausting after a while, so I just found that if you take your glue gun, which is my preferred method of making these seals, and you put just a little bit down, really what I put down right here was too much, and then you're going to immediately stamp that. Now it doesn't have to be the same stamp you plan on using. In fact, in this case it won't be. I'm just putting down a stamp really quickly, and that will not only chill that wax and hold that ribbon in place, but see, now I can let go. I don't have to hold it super tightly. The ribbon is going to stay beautiful, and then all I have to do is go back with the wax and apply enough for my stamp now. So again, I probably use a little bit too much in this. I was very excited to mix these two colors together. It had a very Cinderella vibe to me. So then you have that hot wax applied on. I'm going to take my stamp, make sure it's lined up, and I'm going to place it on the hot wax, allowing that to cool, and that will have that beautiful organic effect. It completely covers the stamp that I did beforehand. Now I'm going to pull this off. And you see we have this beautiful seal over this ribbon. Now as a quick bonus tip, see that little blob that's right there on the edge? Sometimes that happens with ribbon because there's all this texture. While it's still warm, you can kind of lift it up carefully, grab a pencil, and just tuck that in. You have to work pretty quickly with this because obviously you have to work when it's still warm so that it doesn't look super obvious. But see how I tucked that under and then pulled it out? That way it looks like it just kind of curled under a little bit, and it has a beautiful effect overall. So those are my top 7 game-changing tips, plus kind of a little bonus tip in there. I hope that you found this helpful. If you have any tips that you would like to share, please leave that in the comments down below. And until next time, happy stamping!